Welcome back to the arcade. As of the recording of this, it is now January 1st, 2022. So Happy New Year, everybody. I just released a video today. It was kind of a year-end video, which is just a combination of all the videos I did last year. And I was surprised because I didn't realize I'd done so many. I actually have done 56 videos last year. So that's the most I've done on YouTube in 1 year. So I hope you enjoyed the ones that I put out, and looking forward to making some more this year, and hopefully we can up the game a little bit and maybe come up with some stuff that maybe more people be interested in. I appreciate all the viewers that watch and all my subscribers. So thanks again. Okay, well, this video here that we're going to do today, the very first video of the year, is one that I started this past December, not too long ago, about maybe 3 weeks ago, 3.5 weeks, something like that. And it's one that I kind of hinted at in a prior video. This is going to be the video about Arcade Jason's project. And so first let me set the backdrop here. Back in December of this last year, just last month, December 6th, Arcade Jason contacted me on Facebook Messenger, and he asked me if I still had my Bally Midway Golf card rack set up, which you're looking at right here. And I said, yeah, sure. I'm still working on, at that time, a pattern board number 2, I believe is what I was working on. And he said, well, if I were to send you a set of Bally test boards, could you test them for me and make sure they work? And I said, sure, no problem, because I already had the test set up, already had the ROMs, already had a set of the original cards that are on loan to me from Dave down in North Carolina, which I have to get back to him. But right now I still have them, so I can do a comparison between the two. So I said, sure, send them to me. So he sent them to me, and I got them a few days later. Actually, they arrived on December 10th. And I immediately took the boards and put the ROMs in them. And, well, first I did an unboxing. And I did the unboxing on camera because I figured I'd do the unboxing, do the testing. I figured there'd be no problems. Everything would work, you know, just fine. And then I could get the video out. Well, you know how things don't always work according to plan. Well, yeah. Let me go ahead and show you the footage of the unboxing, and then after that, be right back, and we'll get into exactly what happened after. Welcome back to the arcade, and as you can see, I still have my Gorf test set up here, and I'm running a working board set right now. And as you can see, I added sound, but I still don't have any controls set up where I can actually play the game, you know, on the test bench here. That's going to come in the future, but that's a subject for another video down the line. Presently at this time, I'm still working on the second pattern board, and I know it's been a while since I had a video out, but I'm close. I'm waiting on an IC chip, and which I suspect is what's causing the bad board to not work. So that's kind of on hold right now. But this video is going to be about something similar or related to Gorf and the card cage here, but it's nothing to do with actually repairing a board right now. Got something in the mail today. Got a package here, and this is from Arcade Jason. A couple days ago, he contacted me, and his latest project is in this box, and he has assembled one. This is the very first one off the assembly line, and he sent it to me to test it out. Basically because he's got so many projects going on right now, he doesn't have time to test this particular project. So he sent it to me because he knew that I happen to have a working Gorf test setup so that I can test the item that's in this box. So, anybody want to take a guess at what it is? Well, let's just go ahead and open it up and see what goodies we got in here. If I can get it open here, there we go. Okay, here it is, wrapped up nicely in bubble wrap. And let's see what we got. Looky here what we got, guys. Isn't that a thing of beauty? We got two boards here. Okay, if you've been watching any of my videos recently, you might recognize what these are. Then again, you might not, because these boards are white. That's the first time I think I've seen a PC board that's white. At least one this big, anyway. Okay, and of course, he's got his trademark, Arcade Jason. Well, if you've been watching my videos, you know what this is. This is a pair of the Bally Midway test cards. With these two cards, you can test the RAM boards with this. Well, it takes both of these boards to test the RAM boards. To test the pattern board, you just need this board here. But you also need a card cage setup with a set of either Gorf or Wizard of War boards, or, well, you need two RAM cards and a CPU board. And let's see, what else was it? And that's all you really need. So, okay. Let's go ahead and set it up and try them out and see if they work. Okay. Well, as you seen in the unboxing, here they are. A thing of beauty. They look great. Unfortunately, they didn't work out the box. And after the initial shock of it not working, because I figured, hey, this would be a breeze. It's going to work fine and there'll be no problems, right? Well, anyway, what I did was I had to try to figure out what was wrong. We first suspected that maybe it was a problem with the ROMs, because Jason did make one little change to the board. And this is the main test board here which is the pattern test board, which has the ROMs on it. Okay. These originally use 2716 ROMs, and it's two of them, X4 and X5. Okay. So you have a set of ROMs for the RAM test when you're using this card, both of them together when you're testing the RAMs. And then when you want to test just the pattern board, you don't need the RAM board. You take that out, and then you have to swap the ROMs and put in the set of ROMs that have the pattern board test program on it. Okay, well, Jason's plan was to use a 2732 ROM, put both programs on each one of the ROMs, and have it so that you could just have one set of ROMs and switch between the two ROMs. Or you could do it the old way by just using the standard ROMs and switching the ROMs. And that's the only way I had them, was the original ROMs, which I had a set of ROMs for the RAM and a set of ROMs for the pattern board. And on the back, he had this little solder pad here, little jumper pad, where he said, all right, if I'm going to use the original ROMs to solder across that pad right there. So I did, and I put the ROMs in and I tested it. The RAM test didn't work, so I pulled them out and I just tried the pattern board test. Pattern board test didn't work. I said, well, what can be wrong? I knew the ROMs were good because they were the same ROMs I was using in Dave's original boards. So then for the next 2 nights, I spent about 2 hours, maybe 4 hours total, going over the boards, looking to see if there were any problems with the board, and the boards were identical, okay, except for the modification that he had made with the ROMs. He added this little, see the resistor between the two ROMs there? That's an addition, and I think that's a pull-up resistor, I believe, that's supposed to pull up the address on the ROM to, when you switch it from, you know, the lower half of the ROM to the higher half of the ROM for the two different programs. All right, well, we thought that was the problem, okay? So on the original boards, it has a trace on each one of the ROMs that connect two of the pins together on each one of the ROMs, and that trace was left off of these boards intentionally. Well, we went ahead and put a jumper on there, so that put this board back into the original configuration of the original board. Tried it again, still didn't work. Okay, so finally I got out my logic probe and I started testing everything. I tested, I did my, the way I do board testing. I made a chart of each one of the chips, and I took my logic probe and I probed each pin on every chip and I wrote it down, and I compared it to the good working board. Okay, well, I found out that Jason's boards, nothing was working. It's like everything was dead. I said, what is causing everything to be dead? So then I started probing the signals that come in on the bottom edge card right here, because this board, when you put it in the card cage through the edge connector, connects to the CPU board, and it needs the CPU board in the original game, you know, to go along with this to make it work. So I started probing all the signals coming off the CPU board, and then I got down to the reset, and the reset was grounded. I said, well, that ain't right. So then I got checking, and okay, something is missing off of the original boards here. the reset switches on both boards. I took them off. The reset switches, the way they were soldered into the board, was causing the reset to be grounded. So it was in constant reset the whole time. And that was the problem. It took me all that time to figure out what was wrong. I'm sure if Arcade Jason had been looking at the boards, he would have figured it out right away. But I'm not Arcade Jason, but I did figure it out. So give me a little credit for that. So I pulled these reset switches, and the reason they're like that is because they're, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but they're not square. They're, on one side, the terminals are closer together, and the other corner, they're farther apart. And the only way that you can put them on the board, because the original board uses the Bally type push button switch, and Jason went with the tactile switch here. So the only way it would fit on the board, well, would be the way that you would think it would go, the way it would fit. And of course, that's wrong. That was just basically putting a short across the reset. Okay, so we got that taken care of. Now also, when he sent me the boards have jumpers here, and he wasn't sure which jumpers were supposed to be jumped and which wouldn't. So again, I took the original boards, and he had put jumpers in all 8 of these jumper positions. So I went ahead and I took JU2, 4, 6, and 8 and removed them. Okay, because that's the way the original board is. Another thing, that after we got the board working, it kind of threw me for a little bit of a loop, but I figured out what it was. He put this toggle switch up here. Okay, the original board, okay, here's the original board compared to Jason's board. As you can see, this has the Bally reset switch. All right, this one has a 2-position slide switch. He put a 3-position switch, which works. The only thing is, a slide switch slides to contacts. Okay, toggle switch has a rocker in it, which when you flip it one way, the switch actually flips the opposite way from the toggle. So when you got the toggle aimed over in position 1, it was actually, the board was in position 2. And if you toggled it over towards the position 2, the board was actually in position 1. So we got that changed. Jason is now going to put a slide switch on here. And I was able to find the slide switches. And even though it's not 100% identical to the original, it's made by the same manufacturer. It's only like half the size. But physically, it's basically the same exact switch. And it will solder in the same exact spot on the board. So I'm going to change that switch out. And I also ordered from Great Plains Electronics get them out the pack here. 2 of the original type of Bally reset switches. They're a little different. It's got a, instead of just a straight little tab on them, they actually got like a little button top on them, but they're basically the same exact switch. Okay, so they should go right on the boards just like the original. So first thing I'm going to do, oh, and the boards work, by the way. Once I took that reset switch off and got rid of the reset problem, the boards worked fine. They still, I couldn't get it to work with the single ROM program. I did try it. Jason told me how to put the files on a 2732 ROM, and I think I did it correctly, but I'm not an expert at, I mean, I can burn ROMs, but when you go to change, adding the programs, doubling them up and all that, I'm kind of new at that, but I think I did it right. But Jason is going to figure that out, I believe, and get it so that it will work. But at this time, I'm just using the original ROMs, so I still have these little jumpers on the back of the board. No biggie. You know, right now it works just like the original. So, all right. Well, let me go ahead and get everything set up, and we'll take this switch off, and we'll add the reset switches, and then we'll be ready to set it up, and I'll show you how the boards work. Okay, I'm going to start with removing this toggle switch here, so we can put the slide switch in. Let's see how hard this is going to be to remove. Almost loose. Let's see what's got it. I think the one in the center here, the ground. All right. Let me see if I can heat it up with the soldering iron a little better. There we go. I think he just used, to put this together, this is basically a prototype. So I think he used whatever he had laying around, and of course it's a new switch, but it looked like he had looped some wire, stiff wire around it, and made it so it would fit on the board at a 90 degrees. So let me see if I can suck the rest of this off here. All right. Let me see if the switch is going to fit on in that position. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, that'll work. All right. Just got to prop it up here a little bit so that the switch will remain level. See, the problem is, it's not really a problem. The center contact on the switch, the PC board has a long slot. And I guess that was put in there so that you can use, you know, any type of switch that you can find. But it'll work out. So I'm going to solder these two first. Let me see how that looks. All right. I'm going to bend this tab over. Bent that tab over so it'll have more connection to the edge of the slot right there. Okay. Slide switch is installed. Now, let's install the reset switch. Okay. Reset switch is installed. Okay. Now, for the RAM test card, we have to install the switch on this one too, the reset switch. That was the only change I had to make to this one, was with the reset switch. So I haven't checked this one for fit yet. Might have to desolder a little more. Yeah, it's got a little bit of solder in that corner edge there. See if I can clear it out. Wants to be stubborn, don't they always? I think that's a ground plane right there, so it's a... Okay, just needed a little more solder so it could get a suction path there. Alright, I think we're good to go now. There we go. Okay, that looks good. So now we have everything complete except for one thing. One more thing to do. And let me get one of the original boards here. I don't need to do any more soldering, so let me cut this off and get it out the way. Okay, this is the RAM test board. This is the new RK Jason board. This is the original Bally Midway board. What's missing now? I got the reset switch on, so it's not the reset switch. What's missing? Well, if you said the little eject ears on top of the board, you're correct. These boards didn't have them. Now, Jason said he ordered them, but they sent the wrong ones. So when he sent the boards to me, this was the very first set of boards he put together. So he didn't have a set to send me. No problem. I took one of the originals and I took it off one of the boards, and I took it and I measured, got all the measurements on it. Then I went to the internet and I did a search, and I found them at DigiKey. So I bought a few. And they came with the little pins, little roll pins to hold them on. Let me just dump them all out here. I think I bought 10 of them. And these are identical, except they're white. The originals here are gray. They do make them in gray, but they didn't have any gray in stock. But these are an identical match. Same thickness. A lot of times they'll be skinnier on top. The ones for the Sega G80 card cage are a lot skinnier than these. But these are identical. So they were identical match. So if you're looking for some, which I haven't talked to Jason yet, so I don't know if he found the right ones. But if you go to DigiKey, okay, put in the part number CP-06WE. The WE is for the color, white. Now, right now on their website, they got plenty of them in stock of the whites. The only other color they had was orange. And somehow I didn't think white board with orange extractors. Well, I don't know. It's got green Molex pins there, but yeah, orange. You know, I didn't want it to look Halloweenish, so I went with the white. So anyway, let me show you how you put these on. Now, these don't come with the pin. Well, they came with the pin, but the pin's not installed, the roll pin. The roll pins come in a separate little bag here. So what you need to do is get your little pair of pliers. I'm going to take one of the roll pins out the bag here. I don't want to lose any of them. And you get your little pair of pliers. Anything will do. Vice grips, pliers, whatever. Put it in the pliers. Just hold it. What I like to do is get the split pin. This is a split pin or a roll pin. It's called that because it's got a little split in it. And that split is designed to where it goes in a hole that's a little bit smaller than the pin. So when you put the pin in, the pin has to collapse a little bit, you know, and it makes a tight fit. Well, in this application, since you put it in the plastic, it's not really that critical. That's usually only if you're putting it in something metal, a metal fit. Like if you're familiar with the spinner on the Star Trek, the Sega G80 games, the spinner has a roll pin that holds the spinner knob on, and it uses a long roll pin. So you have to actually use a drive pin and a hammer, or really, basically, it'd be best if you had a press to where you could actually press the pin out. But most people don't have a press. Most people just take a hammer to it. But with a hammer, it's kind of a tight fit, and you can actually bend the shaft. So you'd be better off in that case. But that's another subject that we're going to visit, because I do have bushings to rebuild a G80 spinner. So hopefully we're going to get into that too. All right, well, the easiest way to do it is just put it in a pair of pliers, have the roll pin, you know, hanging off one side. Take your little lever, and you got to put it in this little hole here. So you want to just line it up in the hole and just get it where it's lined up. Apply a little pressure and just rock it back and forth. Okay, and it'll pop in. And it actually popped in a little bit too far, so you can take and just pull it back out a little bit. And what you want to do is you want to get it to where it just barely sticks through. Then you take your board, and you got to make sure you get it on right. The one side is just a tipped up lever, and the other side has a little roll edge on it. That's the part that rolls on the cage. So that always goes on the outer side of the board. So what you do is you just stick it on, and when you got that roll pin with a little lip on it, it'll actually hold itself in place. All right, then you can take your pliers again, and one side is going to support, be over the hole, the other one is going to be over the pin. Then you just squeeze it, squeeze this right in, and there you go. Nothing to it. Now I already have put the pin in 3 other ones, so I already got the pin started. So let's go ahead and put this other one on. All right, that one, the pin's not coming through quite all the way. So let me stick it through a little bit. There we go. And push it right in place. And there we have our eject levers on the board. All right, let me get the other one. And we'll put a set on this one. Same thing. You want the little bump edge to go on the outside of the card. Okay, get it started in the hole. And it just presses right in place. And because you're using, I'm just using these wire strippers that has a little, like a pair of pliers on the end of it, and they're flat. So when you put it on both sides and you just squeeze it together, it's going to perfectly line up every time. All right, so I got one more here. It should have a pin in it. Where you at? I'm missing one. Where'd it go? Alright, well, I'll find it later. It's got to be here somewhere. Maybe it slid underneath something. Alright, so I got to put another pin in. Well, that's the way it happens on live video. Now you can watch me do another one. Did I mention it a while ago? I also like to put the split of the roll pin up on the top side. That way, when you're putting pressure on the board, the little split is not eating into the hole on the card. So, okay. All right, get in there. There it is. I heard it pop in that time. And there we go. That makes it a whole lot easier to get these cards in and out. Before I had these, and this was the last part I was waiting for. Without these little levers right here, it's pretty hard to get these cards out of the card cage. So, all right. Let me go ahead and put these back in the box there, and we'll set up and try out the boards. Okay, well, let's go ahead and set the board up first for the RAM test. All right, well, for the RAM card test, let's go ahead and cut it off. And we need to take the pattern board out, because we don't need the pattern board. And we can unplug. This is where the sound hooks up. The two channels, channel 1 and channel 2. So 3 pin plug right here on J1. No, it's J2. And this is the power and video output that goes, well, actually, it's the power out that powers the RGB board and the RGB signals, well, actually the component signals. So this is the game board, and we don't need the game board for the test cards. This is the ROM board. We don't need the ROM board. So we'll pull the ROM board out. And this right here is the CPU board. We do need the CPU board. For the RAM test, we only need one of the RAM cards. And the first slot is where the RAM card goes. So we don't need this one for the RAM test. But we will need it for the pattern test later. Okay. I've gone over this before in another video, but let me go over it again in this one. The first two small slots are for the RAM cards. So this is J1 and J2. Then the bigger slots are labeled J3, J4, J5, and J6. So for the RAM card test, we need a good RAM card in the first slot, J1. Leave J2 blank. And J3, you got to have the CPU board. That's the one that's got the two custom chips. This is the one with the heatsink on it. Now, the reason I put this paper label over top the heatsink, as you can see, it was getting a little tore up right here. You can see where the label got a little tore up. That is from this edge connector right here. On the back side of the board, the pins were sticking out a little bit proud, a little bit farther than the original board, so that these pins, when you slid it down into the slot next to the CPU board, the pins were actually hitting the heatsink. So I took my side cutters, and this is another modification I had to do. I took my side cutters and I nipped all 100 pins off, so that now that these pins won't hit the heatsink. Okay. All right. So we put this in slot number 4, right next to the CPU board. Okay. We want it in position 1, which is to the left. The dip switches. Okay. The dip switch settings are in the manual, but I don't think it really matters on the RAM card, but just to be safe and sorry, the way I read the instructions, you have 8 dip switches, okay? 1 is off, 2 on, 3 off, 4 on, 5 off, 6 on, 7 off, and 8 on. That's the position you want to put both dip switches on the pattern board card and the RAM card. That seems to work the best, okay? So, we got this card in. Now we leave the next space, J5 open, and we put this in J6, which is the last card slot, or the card slot all the way out on the edge. Now for my test setup, I went ahead and I took the cross braces off of the cage. You can use this with the cross braces on, because I believe it clears the bottom one here. I have to double check that. I don't know where they are right now. But let's see. Yeah, here's one of them. If we put this on, yeah, it clears it. The reason I took these off is because I was working on the pattern board and I wanted full access to the pattern board. So, you know, you can leave these on your card cage if you're just going to use them to test boards and not actually work on the boards in the cage. Okay. We don't have to worry about my sound connector because there's no sound on the test boards. But this 12-pin connector, you will have to hook this up. And if you're using this in your Gorf and using the Gorf game to power the boards up, you can pretend this is in the Gorf game. So you can actually use the original plug that's on your Gorf harness to plug into these 12 pins right here. So that will work, and you can use this right in your Gorf game. Okay, so this is your your output to your video card, and then that will go to your monitor. So, but look at my other videos. I explain all that. So if you need more details about that, just check out my other videos. Okay, so now we got everything hooked up. Let me just lay this down flat. And we're going to put the RAM card. The RAM card goes in with the, when you got the cage laying down, the part side will be facing you or facing down towards the bottom of the cabinet if you put it in your cabinet. I think there'd be enough room where you could probably do it in the cabinet. Maybe we'll do that next. We'll go over and we'll put the boards in the cabinet itself and show you how that works. Okay, all right, here we go. Let me power it up. And there we go. That's all it does. If you have a good RAM card, these represent your RAM. If they're solid, that means they're good. Okay. Let me cut it off. And we'll take this good RAM card out. And here's my test card here with the 2 bad RAM that I've been using to test. And we'll put that in. And let's turn it on. Now, with the original boards, it does this sometimes. That's why you need the reset switch. Hit the reset and there we go. Sometimes you don't have to hit the reset switch, and sometimes you do. That's just the nature of the beast. The original boards do the same thing. Okay, as you can see, this is a bad RAM, and that's a bad RAM. The bad RAM is blinking on the monitor, so that tells you that those 2 RAM on the board is bad. So, you know, it would be the same thing if any of these other RAM were bad, they would be blinking also. So that's basically a RAM test. Real simple, and it works great. It's really the best feature of this set of boards. All right, now one more thing. Let me take this back out, and I'm going to put the good RAM board back in. And it's one more test. If you go back and watch my videos, and we have to hit the reset again. If you go back and watch my videos, if you hook this up with just the composite black and white signal, which you can, in my original videos, that's what I did. You'll notice that the background will be black, and the RAM chips will be white. So it would be inverted. It would be black and white, but it's inverted, almost like a Nintendo game is. Right now it's set up in color. Even though this looks black and white, this is actually the color output, and that's what you're seeing. And so if you go back and watch my other videos, you'll see. Maybe I'll put a little snippet in here beside this so that you can do a comparison of what it would look like if you just used the one composite output off of the board. And my videos, other videos on the original board show you how to do that. So if you need to know exactly how this all sets up, watch my other videos. And I think I do a pretty good job of explaining, even making the wiring harness and explaining how I have it set up and all that. So, okay, now what we're going to do is, let me raise this up here. And you remember that switch that I changed that did have a toggle switch? Right now it's in position 1. All right, well, let's put it in position 2 and hit the reset switch. There we go. That's our color test. Actually, what this does, it's supposed to tell us that this chip in this chip is good if you get a good color test pattern. If one of these chips is bad, I don't think you'll that test pattern won't be like it is. I've never tried it with bad chips in there, so I don't know exactly what it would do. But actually, if you are getting a good, all your ROMs are good, then more than likely these chips are good anyway. So I really don't know what the purpose of that part of the test is, but it works. So there you go. That is the extent of the RAM test. So put it back in position 1, hit the reset button, and we're back to our RAM test. Okay, let's cut it off here. I'll take the RAM board out. So let's do a pattern board test. All right, for the pattern board test, we don't need the RAM card tester. So look how nice they work. All right, so we'll just pull this and get it out the way. Now I'm going to unplug this board and pull this board out, because we have to change the positions. We now have to put this in the outer slot. And we need 2 good RAM cards. So this is the other good RAM card that we pulled out. So we're going to put that back in. Okay, so now we have in position J1 and J2, 2 working RAM cards. In position J3, we still have the CPU board. We have nothing in J4 and nothing in J5, and in J6 we have the pattern test board. All right, now we're going to plug up our 12-pin connector. We're going to leave our switch in position 1, which is over to the left. I'm going to lay this down. And I need a good pattern board. So here's that pattern board number 2 that we fixed in the last pattern board video. Okay, this is the one that's got the most chips. I replaced all 4 of these chips, replaced these 2 chips and these 2 chips. So this pattern board is fully working. So we'll plug it in. And let's turn the switch on. Whoops! What did I forget to do? Yep, that's right. I forgot to change the ROMs. So we have to take the RAM ROMs out of the board. And we have to put the pattern board ROMs in. Okay, now we're back on track. Now let's plug the pattern board in. Okay, now we're ready. Let's turn it on There we go. Looks good. All right. Well, if you got a good pattern board, that's what it does. It tells you looks good. Now, if you got a pattern board that's got a lot of problems, you can simulate that by just turning it on without the pattern board in there. And what does it do? It comes up with a fatal error, and it tells you to check the data latches, the flush status bit 08, the direction status bit 01, the area, the linear high 2 bits, the trans state buffers, and the control logic. Well, at this point, you just starting at square one. So now I got one more bad pattern board, but here it is, and this is the one I haven't tackled yet. But this is the pattern board that when you put it in a game, the game does nothing. It's completely dead. This is the one where you put it in the original pattern test board. It's dead. It does nothing. So I'll put it in here, but I'm pretty sure it's going to do the same thing the original boards did. It's just going to say, bam, nothing. It's not going to say nothing. It's not even going to boot up. So here we go. And it's a blank screen. The camera don't even want to focus in on it. Yeah, just a blank screen. Hit the reset button. Nothing. It doesn't even blink, glitch or nothing. So whatever is wrong with this board, it's going to be a doozy. But fear not. We're going to tackle it, and we're going to figure out what's wrong with it. I don't know if we're going to do this sooner or later, but we're going to do it. All right, well, I guess there is something that I can do. Since this board here has all these chips that's been removed or replaced, supposedly U21 is one that it likes to say is bad all the time. So I'm going to just pull U21 out of the board. And put it in and just see what we get. Just for grins and giggles. Alright, let's see. Alright, I think that come up with the same thing, fatal error. Same thing as if we didn't have the board in there. Alright. Well, let me go ahead and put that chip back in. And let's pull one of these other chips out. Let's pull U3 out. That was a chip that I thought was bad on this board, but it turns out that wasn't the one that was bad. So let's just see what it tells us. Same thing. It just tells us it's bad and gives us a list of things to check. All right. Well, while we're at it, let's pull another one out. U23. Why not? Interesting. Hit the reset. Well, look at there. It gives us a little bit different data. Let's see. The data bus is okay. Well, the data bus, we didn't mess with that. The linear section is okay. The area is okay. The XY is bad. The feedback is okay. The status is bad. Well, the status chip is U21, the first one I took out, and it always says that's bad if something else ain't working, because that's kind of a central chip to the whole operation. So if something else is wrong, U21 is not going to wrong, and it throws up a red flag on U21. But it also says that the flop, the flip, the flash, the cons, and the EXP is bad, but the DIR is okay. So just for grins and giggles, let me get my oversized schematic out here. And we took out U23. And U23 was the one that was bad on this board. And that was the one that was actually causing the board not to operate. And I believe it is putting up the same exact reading on the screen here that I was getting when I was testing this board. So if you get these readings, suspect U23. That's the best I can give you, okay? All right, so let me cut it off. At least we know it does do something, but it's not what you expect. It's not going to say pointing a finger at this chip or that chip or that chip or that chip. It just gives you a general area to look in. So I'm not saying that it's not certain things that can go wrong on this board, that maybe this will kind of lead you in the right direction, but it's not going to be in a magic, pointer saying, it's this chip or this chip or that chip. It's just maybe will get you in the area. All right, so I put everything back on the board. So let's see if it still tests good. Looks good. So the board is up and running. What can I say? So what's the final opinion? Well, if you just always wanted a set of these boards, but couldn't find an original set, and like I say, here is Dave's original set that I have. If you couldn't find an original set and you wanted a set, this is for you, okay? I highly recommend them, especially if you got a lot of, well, if you have a Gorf game or Wizard of War or one of the other games that uses these cards, the age of these games now, they're pretty old, and every time I turn the Gorf on, I'm kind of thinking in the back of my mind, is it going to work this time? And I, as a collector, have over the years have bought board sets to get boards so that I could swap the boards out to keep the Gorf working. And it finally got to the point to where the boards are getting hard to find, and I do have 3 complete spare sets. Now I still have a few boards that's not working because over the years I've used those boards, or in some cases I bought the boards untested and some of the boards were already bad. So here lately I've been kind of trying to go through the board sets that I have and repair the boards so that I have working boards for when the game goes down. It's a lot easier to just grab a working board set and swap the boards around, find the board that's bad, replace it, and go about your business. But sooner or later, you're going to run out of that supply of working boards, and you're going to have to do what I'm doing. You're going to have to go through and repair the boards or find somebody that can repair them. I like to try to repair the stuff myself if I can. On occasions, I have sent boards out to be repaired, but I like to fiddle with electronics. I always have. So it's just natural for me to want to try to expand my knowledge a little bit and learn how to repair this stuff. Even if I'm not the best at it, I usually get results. Now, if I don't, I can throw in the towel and I can find somebody that can help me out. And I'll be glad to pay them to fix what I can't fix. But here lately I've been doing pretty good. Well, that's plastic. Need some wood to knock on. But anyway, so there you have it. This, if you like me and you work on your own stuff and you like working on your own stuff and you have several of these board sets to keep your games going and you want to learn how to work on the boards, I highly recommend it. Even if you're only going to use it to check the RAM cards. RAM cards is something easy that you can replace. I mean, sure, you're going to have to have soldering skills because you're going to have to, the RAM chips on the RAM cards are soldered in, they're not socketed. So when you use this tester, you find a bad chip, you have to unsolder it, then you put a socket in and then put the chip in the socket. Because if you continuously unsolder and solder in chips on a board, you're going to ruin it. That's just the way it is. These boards are so old and they're fragile, and you have to be careful. As a matter of fact, if you're just starting out, you better practice on some other boards that you don't care about. Don't start on one of these boards unless you have the basic skills you need. And if you don't have a desoldering tool or a solder pullet, and you don't have a technique down to do it, you're better off to take a set of these little side cutters here and clip each leg at a chip and clip the chip off the board. Then take your soldering iron and a little pair of tweezers. I even use these side cutters here. Heat up the pin and grab it and pull them out one by one. And then you can clear the excess solder off the board. Then you can go ahead and solder in a socket and then put your new chip in. So, what can I say? That's just the way it is. I would highly recommend a set if you're going to do board work yourself, or if you want to diagnose the board. Even if you don't have the skills to replace the chips yourself, you can still check your RAM card and say, okay, I got this RAM bad. You know, you can mark it and you can find somebody that can do the repair for you. And then all you got to do is hand them the card and say, you know, that's bad and that's bad. Go ahead and fix it and put a new one on it. And you're done. So, okay. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Well, I tell you what, let me go ahead and we'll put these boards in the golf game. How about that? So if you don't have a card cage set up like this on a test bench, I'm going to show you how you can use these right in your golf game. Yeah, let's do that. All right, well, on second thought, I think I'm going to hold off on putting these in the golf cabinet. this video was already long enough. And this is really about the test boards. And I wanted to finish them up properly and show how they work. And they work identical to the original boards, the way they're set up right now. So if you want to see me put these in my Gorf cabinet and see if they'll actually work in the cabinet without any modifications, if you can physically, the only thing that I can think of might be a little hard because it's in the cabinet and you have to plug the board in this way. I don't know if the power transformer will clear. So, you know, that's the only thing. But I think it's enough room in the cabinet as long as it'll clear that power transformer. I'll have to look in the cabinet to double check. But anyway, if you want to see me make that video and see if it will fit and work, because not everybody has a spare card cage and wired up a test fixture so that you can use them on a bench. So a lot of people will probably use them in the cabinet. So if you want to see that, leave a comment. And if enough people leave a comment saying, hey, I want to see these boards, if they will work in a cabinet, just the way it is, without doing anything special, then I will make that video. Okay? All right, that's going to do it. My opinion, I wanted a set of these original boards anyway, so now I don't have to seek out the original boards because I now have a set of Arcade Jason's reproduction boards, which it works identical because they're using the same program, okay? And the design is the same. The only change he made was in the ROM circuit, and hopefully he can get that sorted out so that you only need one set of ROMs, and maybe put a switch on here so that you can switch between the programs on the ROM itself without having to physically change the ROMs. But the way it works right now is just like the original board. You had to physically remove the ROMs and put the other set of ROMs in. So I'm happy with it just like it is. So I give it 2 thumbs up, Jason. Gets my approval. That might not mean much in the grand scheme of things, but hey, I like it. Okay. As far as price point, I have no idea. You have to get up with Arcade Jason. You can probably get up with him on Facebook. And if you don't do Facebook, I know a lot of people don't do Facebook. I'm pretty sure he has an account on Clob, so maybe you can PM him, private message him on Clob, the Killer List of Video Games, and maybe you can get in touch with him that way. But I think he'd probably prefer Facebook if you can do it that way. Or if you have his email address, I don't know if that's readily available or not, but just whatever way, get in touch with him, and y'all can work out the deal, whether he's going to sell them fully ready to go, or whether he'll sell just the bare bone boards, or maybe a kit. I don't know. You have to talk it over with him. So, all right, enough of that. This has just been another arcade fix, and I hope everybody had a great holiday, Christmas, and New Year's, and looking forward. Hope 2022 is going to be better. I hope this crud that's going around, I'm not going to mention it, I hope that it leaves us this year and we never see it again, but all we can do is hope. Till then, this has just been another arcade fix. Have you had your arcade fix today?